All right, so welcome to part 2 of video 4 in this guitar build series. This is the part of the video where we actually shape the neck, threaded inserts, we do a guitar body repair, and some other things. So I hope you stick around. Thank you for letting me break this up into 2 parts, sticking with both of them, watching them all the way through. All right, with that out of the way, I'm going to come back to this, revisit it. This is the gouge that I did with my router in a past video. And ironically, I'm using the same crappy yellow tape that was largely part of why the template slid and I wobbled the router over here. So I put tape down there so that I, limit how far the repair stuff goes. I was going to use wood filler because it takes stain better, but I want this to be really strong. I'm going to go ahead and use, I believe this is maple dust, and pack it in there nicely, and then I'm going to use CA glue to set it. Um, the CA glue is stronger in my opinion, the bond with the sawdust and CA glue, but it doesn't take stain very well. Um, I'm going to go ahead and dye or stain this body dark after all, and it's not going to really matter so much that the you'll see it winds up getting a little bit dark, like a little bit darker than I had expected, but it'll be okay because I do believe I'm going to go with a little bit darker tone for the red alder to cover up some of that just sort of bland grain, and I think it'll be cool contrast with the ebony fretboard and the spalted maple neck and whatnot. So let's go ahead and I'll quit talking and you can see me do this. A couple minutes later, pull the tape off. Looks kind of poopy right now. But then I'll go ahead and do a little bit of rough sanding over the top with a little sanding block. Make sure that I don't make a low spot here. I want to do the whole area of the body the same. And then I'll just take a chisel and kind of clean it up a little bit. CA glue, it's only been a few minutes. It's still pretty workable. So I can clean it up really good and maybe sand the edge down a little bit so that it takes the form. That way when I make the cavity cover, it'll be a perfect fit. A little bit of stain on the back. Um, Probably won't even be able to tell. I mean, you guys all will because you've seen me do it. But I'll show final view, of course, and progress throughout the process. So, like I said earlier, we're getting a lot done in this video. I'm going to do the neck pocket holes and the threaded inserts for the neck. Now I'm doing this before while it's still flat because I'm going to be having it on the drill press. What am I talking about here? Oh yeah, when I cut off the headstock part earlier for thicknessing it, I'm going to go ahead and use that piece, and I'm going to carefully mark holes in there from my template into that, and then I'm going to use that as a template to mark the holes on this headstock. Better than trying to wobble the template around on the lowered thickness of the headstock. It's easier for me to do it this way. You'll see. And again, I have not shaped the neck yet. I've left it a block of wood so that it has a nice flat level base for drill press and for pressing in the frets and all of that stuff. Um, a little bit later in this video, we're going to do the neck shaping. We're getting covering a lot of ground in this whole video here, probably more than any of the other ones, and we'll be pushing finished by the time I'm done with this. But anyhow, I don't want to get ahead of myself. There's the holes are the uh, you know punched, so I can do some pilot holes here, and let's just watch. All right, so I take a little template, take some painter's tape, stick it over the head there. I have I think a 3/16 inch drill bit is all I'm using here. These are pilot holes, and you'll see why. I don't want to blow out the back since I've already thicknessed this headstock. Um, what it is what it is. It's final. I mean, I can sand it a little bit, but if I blow the back out of this thing and have it on a curved piece of wood there, um, you're going to see it. The tuners will not cover it up. So I drill halfway through with the 3/8 inch drill bit. I think that's the diameter of the tuning keys. and then I flip it over and I drill the other. I meet it halfway basically, and that little pilot hole lets me align them perfectly. All right, so next up here, I'm going to do the neck pocket holes. This part always makes me a little nervous because I don't just use regular wood screws. Um, there's an example of one. I just don't think that that's as good as it can get. So instead, I use stainless steel threaded inserts. I don't know what I'm talking about there in the video, but there's a stainless steel insert, threaded insert. I've been accused of overbuilding these guitars sometimes. This is heavy duty, but I like it. And these, I'll mount four of them inside of the neck itself. Then these stainless steel screws, bolts rather, will go through the back. And I mean, it'll secure it on like a truck bumper. And if you take the neck on and off, you can do it 100 times, 1,000 times, and you're not going to strip anything out like you might with traditional wood screws. So I have this little template. I've made this up in the past. Fits in there. I go ahead and mark the holes, and then I will drill through um, the body, and then I'll use the body as sort of a jig or a guide to drill pilot holes into the neck. You'll see that here in a moment. So here you've got calipers out, 3/16 inch diameter of the stainless steel bolts, and I go ahead and drill the full diameter. I don't do a pilot hole here, and I'm also not that worried about blowing the back out on here because I'm going to do some body shaping, and I'm going to drill some countersink holes in the back. So if I blow the back of these holes out, that's okay. Then I use that as a jig to just punch some holes in the neck. There's my sort of starter holes for the threaded inserts. Threaded inserts are, I believe, 10 millimeter diameter. Um, and those I have to go to the exact proper depth. Obviously, I don't want to drill all the way through the fret, through the neck into the fretboard. There's plenty of space though. I'm not worried about that. There, dropped it. Um, yeah, not a whole lot to say there. I go down about, I don't know, 3/8 of an inch deep, a 10 millimeter wide hole, and I'll let you watch. That's my middle grandson right there. He's my little shop helper. And here I'm just putting a little bevel over those holes because when I put the threaded inserts in there, I want them to go in easily, and I'm going to countersink them a little bit, and you'll see why shortly. So I'm going to use a little bit of Titebond wood glue in here, just a smear. It actually acts like a bit of a lubricant when I'm putting these things in. Gigantic screwdriver. These things are a real bear to drive in there. I mean, I was pretty worn out by the time I was done. You don't want to screw any of it up. That screwdriver slips off, you're going to gouge the neck. Um, they just go in really, really, really tight. I don't cut threads into the wood, even though it's pretty darn hard maple. Um, that's what the little bit of wood glue is used for. And yeah, let's just see what happens here. Let's watch it together. All right, so that's done. They're countersunk. I hope I get a good shot here. Yeah, you can see they're countersunk a little bit. I didn't gouge up the inserts or the neck or anything like that. A little bit of level sanding here, or just to clean up sanding. It's always handy to have that sanding belt sitting there on the bench. They look very clean. Um, what's next here? Oh yeah, I'm going to stick these bolts in. I think I'll hold a square up to it in a minute here, just as a test fit. Make sure that everything's all good, threads are clean and everything, and make sure that they're perfectly 90 degrees or as close to perfect as possible. And it doesn't look like it, but it is. They're perfectly square. That's why I like using the pilot holes or as a jig. I'm sorry, yeah, the holes in the body as a jig, so I can get all those matched perfectly. And let's see what I'm doing here. Probably doing a test fit just to make sure everything's good. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Oh, and I'm also going to mark the neck now. We're going to get into some fun stuff here in a minute. Hang in there. I'm just marking the neck. so I don't wind up gouging into it. We're going to shape the neck. And with the neck loosely on there, I can get a good measure on there and mark what I'm going to be doing. There's the line. It's the thickness that I want the neck to be. This part's tricky coming up, but hang in there with me. I think you'll like this. Just kind of rough drawing out where I want the little volute to be. And yeah, here I'm taking the template over there, re-getting my center line. It's super important when shaping the neck because I'm going to bring it down to the final thickness, and then I don't want to saw or file or shape over that center line. That's going to be my, um, where your thumb goes. So what I'm doing here is I'm measuring. I want, I forget. I think I'm going to go for a 22 millimeter thick neck altogether. I like a nice thin neck. I'll show you in a minute my sample neck that I try to model this thing after. But so I have to do some math here. This part's kind of boring. Let me just go ahead and fast forward through it. I'm just marking where I want the final thickness of the neck to be. So I'm going to use something different because this is very thick neck to begin with. I'm going to use it's StewMac. It's called the Safety Planer, and it's a planer that works in the drill press. So I need to take about, I don't know, a little more than a quarter of an inch off of there, and I want to do it perfectly flat. So I'm going to use this thing. I'll chuck it up in my drill, and it's the first time I've used it for something like this, to be honest. But I thought about it, and it's perfect width. I can go back and forth, plane it down, and still leave like the thickness where the head's at and where the heel is at. So let's just watch this thing and see how it works. Now I'm doing small, shallow passes, trying not to go more than a 16th of an inch at a time. But there's a couple spots in here where I go a little bit too aggressively, and it actually stops the planer from running. Um, it worked really good. You'll see what I'm doing is I'm lifting the table up a little bit at a time, and that's too much. Back it off. Too much again. There we go. So it's just I do this for, probably took me 15 minutes. I don't know that it really saved me any time in the long run. I could probably knock it down with the files and rasps just as quickly, but this is more precise, and it gave me a nice baseline to start. There it is again. Uh, the center line on the neck, which I'll redraw here in a second, but I know that the center line is flat. There's no variation at all. So that was a real plus. The time was kind of a wash, and it was a little bit of a chore getting this thing working just right. But in the end, I would totally recommend this thing. If you can find it on sale, it really worked pretty well, and I'll probably do this again. So here I'm just redrawing my center line once again. Little V's connect the V intersections, not dots, not lines. Make sure that I got that squared up. And then I'm going to be drawing about a quarter of an inch on each side, 3/8 of an inch. Put a piece of tape there. That'll be my center line that I meet the edges to as I round the edges and shape this thing. And I have two different levels basically. There's videos that guys do it better than I do, showing you how to do this. But I'll first knock down that first corner so that the lines match. Here's my Charvel. This is my favorite guitar neck profile. It's a San Dimas Pro Mod, whatever. Beautiful, beautiful guitar. And I just love the neck, and I wish I could replicate it exactly. So I made this template out of acrylic to match this thing. It took me a little while to do that. Got the upper profile and the lower. This is a handy tool to use if you want to profile things, neck. Um, and that's how I made this little plastic thing. So I'm going to be using that throughout. I've got the upper part, first fret maybe through seventh or ninth fret generally. You'll see how they blend. And then for the 12th fret and up, it's a little bit wider and a little bit flatter. So you're going to see me here. I'm not going to talk through this. That's a rasp. You can get them on Amazon. One of the best tools I've found for this kind of thing. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the profile to match that template in about a 1 inch wide section. And then I'm going to do the same thing at the toward the heel of the neck. So you'll see two kind of like channels cut in there that are the rounded profile of the neck. And I'm gonna have to mess with this here. It's pretty close. Same thing down here. You take the wider portion of the template to match it, you have the little gauge thing, and then I'll join the two. So you'll see it. If you look down parallel with the fretboard, I'm sorry, with the back of the neck, you'll see these two grooves in there. I just need to remove all the material then in between them, and they'll gradually taper and match just right. So let's just take a break from my voice here and get through it. Okay, so that's pretty much done. Uh, I've got full, continuity across the whole back of the neck. I haven't done any fine sanding yet. Now it's time to blend these parts that I've been ignoring this whole time. So this is sort of a volute. Not really. It's not like a Les Paul style volute. It's just I like to keep the area thicker where it transitions to the thin headstock. Somebody knocks a guitar over, leans it against the wall too hard. That's going to be the weakest point. So I like to maintain thickness across the whole thing. I'll throw some tape on there, and you'll see me keep adding tape because I don't want to gouge what I just did. Oh, too late. Already gouged it. You can see the tape right there. I need to clamp this thing down better. I remember struggling with this. It's a lot of work, and we covered a lot of ground in this video, and I hope that you've stuck with, obviously you've stuck with it this long. We're almost done. This is just, I got to clamp it down better. Um, I'm going to be very careful. I don't want to gouge the work that I just did because now I've got a low spot and I don't want to put filler in on a neck if I can at all avoid it. Filling in little bug holes, that's one thing, but um, a gouge from a rasp when you've come this far is a real drag. So I keep adding tape to it, which is a good thing. Turned out to be a good thing. Um, we'll just go ahead and run through this a little bit faster because I think everybody's getting tired of this video. Now for the heel, very much the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and mark back where I had previously had the neck inside of the neck pocket and the body, and I lightly drew out the lines. I do not want to cut past that at all. I want this thing to match as close as possible when it's all done. And I'll show you a still picture or something at the end of this video here coming up to show you how it turned out. But I'm just going to go through this process and you can watch. Really not a lot of magic to it. You just go by hand, go slow. Your fingers can actually see better than your eyes. So if something looks funny, you run your hand over it and you can tell what needs help and attention. And again, you don't want to be just good enough. All of this stuff, you want to be precise, precise, precise as possible. Take the time, go slow, do it right. Less is more sometimes, and you may want to you know push the file through strokes to get a little bit more precision. Use a variety of files. You'll see I have a dowel in here with some sandpaper wrapped around it. All these different tools. Razor blade makes for a good scraper. Card scrapers, whatever you got around. You can do this. They used to do this stuff with, basically sharp stones back in the day. So, knives and stones. So we can certainly do it with rasps and files. So I'm going to go ahead and let you watch throughout the rest of this thing. And I think we're just about done with this one. All right, so it was a big day. We covered a lot of stuff in this video. I mean, probably should have been two videos. Thank you for hanging in here this whole time. Let's just do a quick check on this thing out in the sunlight. Um, I think the tuning holes are good. What else am I trying to show you here? The grain is awesome. I'm really happy with how that turned out. Um, we shaped the neck. We did threaded inserts, stainless steel inserts. We did fret work, all kinds of stuff today. So thank you. And I'm going to show some pictures here at the end of just a little bit of, you know, visuals on the grain. But that's pretty much all I got. We got a couple more videos to do, I think, and we'll be done with this thing, including some, sanding, finishing, that kind of thing. We've got to install the nut. We've got to level the frets, crown them, polish them. Exciting stuff yet. Control cavity cover. We got the soldering and all the electronics. I'm going to stop it here because I think you've all had enough of me. Thank you for sticking around. I very much appreciate it. And yeah, click those buttons down below the video if you want to see more like this. Thank you.